opportunity to be here and to be of service in this sacred earth garden of life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello and welcome to Shaman's Keep. This is Caroline Wise-King, your host, and I can tell you in sunny Las Vegas we are still in the middle of a heat wave. Unbelievably hot. My roses aren't going to survive, I'm afraid. But what can we do? That's the nature of Earth and Father, Son, and all our relations. So today I have a special treat for you. I have a guest that is just a phenomenal performer, singer, songwriter. Her name is Denean, and she has unsurpassed natural talent. She began playing the piano at age 3, and she has an undying love for Mother Earth and living in a sacred manner with all our relations. Her album, Fire Prayer, is one of the most powerful pieces of music ever recorded. And she has her own recording studio. She won the 2000 New Mexico Mike Award as Best Producer. And all her albums, they range from sacred music realms of Native American music to Christian Ave Maria and the sounds of Reiki. She has quite a repertoire of music here, and her voice is soft and haunting as well as passionate and compelling. So it is a great pleasure, Denean, to welcome you to Shaman's Keep today.
Well, thank you, Caroline. That's quite an introduction. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, I can't tell you how much your music has influenced me over the years. It is just so beautiful. And you've had quite an interesting musical career. You spent several years in Nashville, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I spent about 10 years there doing country pop, a whole range of different things. And
you worked with quite a few... You worked with quite a few well-known or famous country music performers, too, right?
I did work with some different people and different producers and, got involved in a lot of different ways in the country music scene. And then I eventually came to a place with a very challenging personal experience that the details aren't so important, but it was more one of those things that where my life was threatened and one of those deeper crises that we all go through in life at some point. And this particular one caused me to really look at why I was on this planet, what was my job to do, and what was I given this talent to do? What was the real purpose? And when I got to those questions and became willing to let go of anything that would stand in the way of being in harmony with this earth. I tell you, when you put that kind of message out to the universe, you better mean it, because my whole life fell apart and came back together in a completely different way. And it was during that transition that Fire Prayer began to come in. And these songs, I went to a little studio there, and it's like I just put down, what I was hearing in my head. I hadn't heard anything else quite like what was happening, but I just did it. And then eventually that led me out of Nashville and I moved to Colorado and signed with a label there. And then that's when we recorded Fire Prayer. So and
since then, you're, and since that traumatic experience that changed everything for you, your intent has been to create music that nourishes the spirit and helps people to remember where they came from. That's awesome.
Yes. And, during that experience, it was such an opening for me spiritually. I don't even have words for what was going on there. How I created music completely changed. It was completely transformed. I now, and from that time forward, just show up. That's my job. I show up, and this music comes through. In Nashville, you're doing the things that you're supposed to do for, the certain way that you structure songs for hit songs and all that sort of thing. But this was a completely different thing. This was, spirits in charge on this one. And another
yes.
thing that also happened in that time was that I completely lost my voice for about 2 months. I couldn't even squeak.
Oh.
And
Oh, my
I got
goodness.
the message that everything was being recalibrated. And sure enough, you know, I saw the difference when I got my voice back finally. And I was told, you know, that this was for opening hearts and touching the heart chakra. And, you know, sometimes you get those messages and you're going, okay, well. And then I began to see that with people, you know, coming to me and just holding their heart chakra. And so I'm not trying to make a claim on that. It's just that was the experience of what happened
Yes.
in this transformation that brought me to where I am.
Well, I believe it because fire prayer touched my heart, so I can't tell you how much it's influenced me over the years. And there's so much power in the songs that it just, it just awakens the heart, and it's like it reconnects us with spirit. So I would really like to play a medley of your songs now and let people feel this energy and this power.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, that would be great, yeah.
Okay, great. We'll put that on now.
We must learn to walk in balance, sacred steps to take, weaving peace and understanding through all that we create. The tapestry of love and light, finest threads of gold, sacred flame ever burning bright through all that we behold. When we learn to walk in balance, the healing will take place. The healing of this earth, our mother, the healing of the human race, the tapestry of love and light, finest threads of gold, sacred flame ever burning bright through all that we behold. When we learn to walk in balance. We circle around the fire, we feel the spirits near, we know their loving presence as we offer them our prayers. See the gentle smoke rising from the earth to the sky, sharing each prayer we offer with the ancient ones on high, with the ancient ones on high. Every thought, every hope, every joy, every dream, sit upon the sacred smoke to the ancient ones unseen, to the ancient
Oh, Denean, your music is just so beautiful. Thank you for sharing those songs with us.
You're most welcome.
Are you still with me?
I am still with you.
Okay. Well,
there were a few moments during the songs that I wondered. There were a few moments during the songs I thought I was going to lose a connection, but I didn't, so I'm still here.
Oh, good. Okay, for everyone that's listening to this, I want you to understand that Denean is in Taos, New Mexico, in the mountains with lots of big trees around her, and so we're getting a little in and out on the connection, the phone connection with her. So just bear with us because it's going to be worth it. It's worth it to have her on the air and give all of you a chance to hear her wonderful talent, her beautiful songs. So I wanted to ask you about, over the years you've done a lot of other albums and you've touched on a lot of different spiritual disciplines. I know your newsletter is Tao Mitaki Oyasin, and that's two separate spiritual disciplines. Would you share with us how you came to this place that you're at spiritually?
Well, that's an interesting journey in itself. I always leave myself, what would you say, open at the top. In other words, to look at the truth that's in any discipline. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's not so much about the discipline, it's just about the truth and wherever my path takes me at that time. Mm-hmm. And the Tao, to me, is very much in harmony with native teachings. And there are many things in that, especially in the Tao Te Ching, a particular translation by Stephen Mitchell, which he does a lot of things within that comes from the feminine. And I just love it. And it's one of those things where the words, you can take just a simple phrase and it's like a doorway into your own inner wisdom that just takes you through that portal into the deeper knowing that's already within you. And everything in the Tao and the Tao Te Ching is about relationship, and that's also what Mitaku Oyasin means. It means that we are all related. So that's how I brought the two things together, because to me, they were the same thing.
Speaking the same language.
They speak the same language, exactly. And the other things that I do, the Reiki is about the energy. Like I said with music, or maybe I didn't say, I don't remember, but my job is, these days, I just show up and let the music show me. I let it show me, let the universe show me what that's supposed to be. And I get surprised along with everybody else sometimes because I get done, I've created this piece, and I'm like, wow, how did that happen? But that's, to me, the most genuine way that for my creation to happen for me.
Yes. Yes, the Spirit definitely flows through you and through your voice and through your words, and that's a beautiful gift. It's a rare and beautiful gift. So you also do some traveling and some talking to people about things. I know you made a trip to Israel last year, didn't you?
I did. Yes, it was about this time last year that I went to Israel. Some folks there had been following my music for years, and we'd been communicating, and they had talked about bringing me there, and then about a year prior, they decided to make that real, and it was just an absolutely wonderful trip. I went and did different presentations. Some of them were small groups with women. One was at a college there, and then the other things were a couple of concerts that I did, and it was just absolutely wonderful. It couldn't have been a better trip. I was so blessed to be able to do that.
I'm amazed because, Israel is basically a Jewish country, and but they are open to this beautiful message that you bring, and that's wonderful.
We'll tell you a little bit about that. The story behind that. The lady involved in this teaches workshops about self-improvement and everything, and her journey on the things that she teaches started with fire prayer, walking balance in particular, and that was part of the inspiration that got her started in the things that she does. They live in a kibbutz there, and she teaches, there's different forms. There's Orthodox Jew and the more secular version, and this was the more secular end of things, but teaches some beautiful workshops. So that was connected to fire prayer too, so I thought I would add that.
Yes, fire prayer opened all kinds of doors for you and opened so many hearts that you just can't believe it. I mean, it touched me. I heard it in the 90s when it first came out, and it's been one of my most cherished albums, and I play it when I'm driving. I've played it on trips, and I've shared it with everyone that I meet. Everyone that knows me is familiar with your music. So I'm just so thrilled to have you on the show, and I want to hear more about you also did your recent ones albums, Calling the Sacred, has a lot of Lakota prayers on it in their language. And tell me more about that.
Well, in my path of when I left Nashville and came west, I knew that I would be connecting with Native culture more. I have some ancestry, but I really hadn't connected in the way that I wanted to a deeper level. And my path took me into the Lakota culture. And through that, I began to learn some things about language. And when I did Calling the Sacred, that album was a 7-year journey. And part of that was because of the language. I don't make any claims to be any expert in the language, but I did want to get right whatever I was going to use in the process of singing. And wanted, in my recording to do that as correctly as I could, to be respectful to the language. And it was about bringing language and sound together, because sometimes I think it's important to have words and lyrics and songs, but there's a place beyond words that is about the music and about the vibration and about sound. And so that was one of the things that was drawing me to the language, was about the use of sound. And so, yes, I incorporated a lot of that in the album of Calling the Sacred. And that's been quite a journey.
I believe it. It's Calling the Sacred is beautiful. Because you're right, I've had people on the show that have talked about healing with sound, and we know that certain vibrations and the resonance of sound can touch people in ways that, as you said, words cannot. And so it's wonderful. And, the other thing about your music is you also have done some Christian albums like Ave Maria. And so you're touching hearts all over the place.
Well, my roots were in Southern Baptist, is where I started as a child, and started playing piano for church and gospel music, and then on into classical. So I have a pretty varied background. But the Ave Maria, it's a CD single just dedicated to that song. And the experience that I had with it, I had always wanted to record that. And I thought, I didn't know if I was up to the challenge, but I've decided I was going to try it. And when I did, I had such a profound experience of the Holy Mother being around me, and just the energy of that in the way of the sacred, not so much in the way of religion, but in the way of the sacred and in the way of the feminine. And that's what just touched me profoundly. So I did that. It's a CD single that has the introduction where I talk about it, and then a vocal version, and then a piano version, an instrumental version of that song. So I just loved it so much, and decided I just have to do that. So.
Well, your voice is so beautiful on it. I mean, it's just angelic, and it's just takes your breath away. And I haven't listened to the Reiki Dhamma album, but in fact, I didn't even know that Reiki had sounds to the symbols. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
I didn't either for a long time, and I was researching some things about Reiki and came upon what's called Kodadama, which is about sound that comes from, the Japan. And when I researched that, then I found that there were these sacred sounds that went with the symbols in Reiki. And so it just inspired me to start recording. So I was just doing the vocal, and I did the ones for each of the symbols. And as I layered those together, just the sounds, when I stood back from the piece, I didn't even realize this till the next day, because I was doing layers of vocals, so it has lots of layers of just the vocal chanting. And the next day I came back and listened, and you could hear Reiki all the way through it. You could hear the word. And I was like, whoa, how did that happen? And so that's another one that the inspiration came quickly, and I followed it, and it all came together very quickly. And it was another one of those very healing times for me. It was a personal healing, just like fire prayer was like that. For the things that I was going through at that time, it was my personal healing that I then turned into the music to share with everybody else. And my initial commitment on fire prayer was whether I shared that on the top of a mountain, to the universe or to one person. It didn't matter to me. I just knew that was the path that I was to take, was to follow the music for healing. So.
Well, it's wonderful that you were wise enough and open enough to be able to let Spirit just move through you and create these beautiful songs and these beautiful music, because you do all the voices on your recordings, right?
Yeah, I think on some of the earlier ones there might have been another person or two in there doing some backup vocals a little bit, but I did most of it myself. Most of them are me. There is one thing that I wanted to. Well, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
There is.
No, we want to hear you.
There is one thing that I wanted to add about the lyrics to some of my songs, and especially on the other earlier pieces where I talked about healing the earth and us healing the earth. I have come to since realize that it is us healing with the Earth Mother rather than us healing her. And I began to realize that, to say that we're healing her was like more of an arrogant approach, because she is a sovereign who will take care of herself, and she'll balance herself. She'll shake her back, which she's doing now in a lot of places in a lot of different ways. She'll do what she needs to do to find her balance. And it's the humans that will be running for cover, so to speak.
Well, it's the humans that need the healing.
Yeah, exactly. So, for instance, on As One, when I sing that song now, one of the lyrics toward the end of the song is, As one we touch her, as one we heal her. Her heart beats with our own as one. And when I sing that now, I sing it as one we touch her, as one we heal with her. Her heart beats with our own as one. So little changes like that. And I've got a piece that's going to be on a new album that I'm doing it's a medley that incorporates some of the pieces from Fire Prayer, actually. Let's see, Walk in Balance, Sacred Fire, and All My Relations are incorporated in it. But the piece is called Threads of a Greater Tapestry. And it speaks to that, so listen, brothers, sisters, too, for this is the dance of life, it's true. And though we are humanity, we're but threads of a greater tapestry. We're threads of a greater tapestry. And so that was the message that I meant when I said that, she's a sovereign. And we're a part of her. And so, yes, we have a place in helping and healing ourselves, absolutely. But I think that's a big distinction for me in my own growth that I wanted to share.
Yes, I understand that because one of the problems that we're having the major problem we're having on Earth is that humans have believed that they had dominion over everything else, like they were the most important and they were the best and they had dominion over everything else. And so all of those other things, all the other life forms were beneath them. And they don't even recognize that there are living beings in the trees and in the plants and in the animals. And so what we're doing here today, what I did with this show and what you do with your music, is to try to remind people that we're only one spoke in the wheel of life. We're one life form among all these other life forms that make up the whole wheel of life, and that we can't be the biggest, most important. It'll throw the wheel off balance and it'll crash, which we're beginning to see some of that happening in our world now. And so that's the thing. I mean, we're part of this huge family of life, and we need to honor all those other life forms and remember we're just part of the wheel. We're not the whole wheel, right?
I couldn't agree with you more. It's absolutely true. And I think also important to remember that not only in honoring the other life forms, but honoring the other human life forms, that we're not more than them either, because that's where our egos can get in there to thinking that one person is more than the other, and that gets us into so much trouble. All the aggression that we see in our world comes from that. So it's so important to honor that divine in every being.
And, when I look at it, it makes no sense that people would look down on someone that doesn't speak the same language as if they're stupid, when we're stupid because we don't speak their language either, And so, I mean, it's really just ridiculous how people have chosen to find separations between all of us. Oh, that one's a different color. Oh, that one doesn't speak our language. Oh, this one, that one has other ways that are really weird to us, and so we make all these separations when the truth is we're all children of the Great Spirit and we're all related to each other. And we should be helping each other instead of criticizing each other or picking fights with each other. And this is something we have to finally recognize and work out if the world is going to survive our dominion.
Right. There's one thing I like to do sometimes in teaching that really makes a point of that. And that is like if you take your hand in front of you and just move your hand, close it into a fist and open your fingers. For every person that's doing that, to understand that the force that's moving my hand as I open and close my fingers, it's the same force that's moving your hand. It's not separate. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're all one. Is that divine breath that's within each one of us that animates us and gives us life. And I use that little example just to remind myself and others, that we really are all one.
Yes, that's a great way of describing it too, because I remember some other songs like John Denver had a great song called "It's About Time," in which he talked about all of us. We love our children. We plan for our families. We want our families to be healthy. And when your child is crying and hungry, it touches my heart too. And, we need to remember that we're all people with families we love and trying to have a good life and create, a home and a safe, peaceful, joyful life for our families. We all want that. I don't care what your color or what side of the world you live on or what language you speak. We all have the same goals to protect our families and to have good, happy lives and healthy lives, and we need to remember that these are what make us all one.
Absolutely. Compassion for our fellow man, compassion for the other person who doesn't believe or think the way that we do, and understand that their path, they're following whatever they're guided, and to have respect for that. I think in our relationships between men and women, all across the planet, this would hold true, that need to learn trust and to learn respect and to treat each other with that trust and respect, because we've forgotten a lot of that in our relationships.
Oh, definitely. Woman has been treated in terrible ways in many countries around the globe, and we have it somewhat better here in the United States, but we still have inequality in pay scales and things like that. But in some countries, a woman can't drive, can't make a decision, can't speak in public, can't, have any rights. And this is something we have to balance out. Like your song, Walk in Balance, we really have to balance out this male-female, how can I say it, domination by the male over the earth and women and everything, animals, plants, everything. And it has to balance out somehow. And I think that's the same thing you're talking about, right?
It is. And I think also to remember within each one of us, we have that masculine and feminine within us. And so part of what we're trying to do on this planet now to find that balance is to balance out our own masculine energy, whether we're male or female, any part of us that's aggressive, that's judging, that's doing all these things. And one thing that I want to say about balance is I look at balance more like a verb than a destination. It's like it's the art of balancing and to check in with yourself. And are you moving toward balance or are you moving away from balance? Because in the I Ching, there's a hexagram about balance, which is hexagram 63. And the caution that's taught in that hexagram is that when things are in perfect balance, be very cautious, because then it's got to move one way or the other. Then you can go moving out of balance. So I tend to look at it like always looking. Are you moving toward balance or are you moving away from balance? Just check in with yourself, and we all know what that is. We know when we're in harmony and when we're not. And to me, I just think that's an important element of trying to walk in balance.
Absolutely. And there's it's something I call also the pendulum swinging. The pendulum will swing to the high side when you're elated and excited and enthusiastic and having the best time of your life, but you have to understand that the pendulum is going to swing back to the other side, because that's the way pendulums swing. So you want to learn to get into the center and try and stay centered and balanced, so you're not swinging too far to the high side, because then you're going to swing too far to the low side and be in the pits and depressed, and things aren't going to work right. So you want to stay in the center. There's a still point in the center between the high side and the low side. There's a still point there that if you can learn to stay centered And then you're not on that roller coaster ride anymore where you're having this wow experience on one side and having this tears and depression on the other side, where you're actually balanced and you're able to take whatever comes, whether it's good or bad, and it doesn't knock you off your levelness there. You're able to handle whatever comes to you in a balanced way. And this is all about walking in balance too, to find that still point in that center and try to begin to hold yourself there.
I think you're absolutely right. In the Tao, that would be called the middle way, which is saying the same thing that you're saying there, to stay in that middle. And I think it's also important for people to get to the place to be able to discern between emotion and in what I call intuition, and what you were talking about, the still point, the quiet, and to learn how to identify ourselves that we are not our emotions. We have them, but we are not the emotion. And to learn how to identify that stillness within, because the way I see it, that is the single most important thing for each of us to do on this planet, if we're going to help bring the balance, is to find that stillness within ourselves. And that doesn't just mean sitting in meditation, although meditation can help you get there, but it's about finding that calm so that your daily activity through life, that you are in that balance, you are in that middle place and that still point that you were talking about.
Yes, exactly. Because when we are living deeply involved in our emotions, then our reactions and our responses to the things that happen to us create all kinds of drama. And the drama hits other people and creates drama in their lives, and then they create drama. It's like dropping a pebble into a still lake and seeing the ripples traveling out from it, the circles of ripples that travel out and out. We have to remember that what we do and say sets things in motion, not just in our life, but in other people's lives, and it goes out and it touches all these other people. So we want to keep things on a calm and peaceful level and not, react with anger and in such ways that it sends out this negative energy that goes out in waves and hits all these other people, and then they send out the same signal. And this is what's been going on Earth for a long time. We're constantly being bombarded by these waves of energy that are coming out from people's emotional responses, and so we really have to learn how to tone some of that down and stop for a moment and think before you open your mouth and start spewing out some kind of negative energy that's going to continue to travel out there and touch other people. So, yes, this walking in balance is something we really have to work at.
Yes, it is. It's a full-time job. Maintenance requires maintenance. One of the things I was reminded of when you were speaking there was about this. I had said earlier with the Tao Te Ching that you just taking one phrase sometimes can change your whole life. And there was a statement in there: when there is no desire, all things are at peace. And I took that one time, put every book away for 3 years, and just contemplated that, to look at the depths of what that meant. And that's about putting aside the emotions that are always, emotions want what they want, rather than looking at things, looking at what is. And when you can bring your mind and your emotions to stillness, it's in that place that you really see things as they are. And that's the place, that you can accept things better and that you can make the proper decisions. And if you're caught up in just getting it your way and not really accepting things as they are, it causes you a lot of suffering. In fact, that's a definition that I've heard from the Buddhist way about suffering. It's wanting from life what it cannot give you. That's the definition of suffering. And I think that's very true. And we do that a lot sometimes. So finding that place to really accept things as they are.
Well, I think living in the culture we're in, where we're bombarded with commercials trying to make us desire something that they're selling and trying to get us to go out there and shop and trying to, influence us. We're just bombarded with this stuff day and night. And so I think people have gotten confused. There's so much chaos going on in their minds between, all the stuff on the news and the music and the all the things that are happening all over the world, and they're all struggling to make it to the next payday maybe, and try to figure out if they can have a little break on the weekend to forget about working and bills and all that. And then Monday comes around and they're back on that treadmill again and trying to get to Friday to that paycheck so they can pay the next round of bills. And, people have gotten so busy. Their minds are so busy and there's so much chaos going on that I think it's hard for the average person to find that stillness unless they are looking for it, unless they have gotten the message that this is what they need to do. They need to get still and find a way to do that. They're just going round and round like hamsters on a wheel, just existing in this chaos. And so, being able to find the time or make the time to find that still place within them, that is the goal.
Yes, it is. And this is a place that I think music can really help because when we're busy like that, it's our intellectual mind that's just running those circles and like the hamster in there, just going. And music has a way to bypass all of that and bypass the ego and go to those deeper places, the right kind of music. And so I think for anyone who is caught up in that world, to find the right kind of music that helps them to calm, it can at least bring them in the direction of finding that calm within themselves.
Well, I think everyone out there should download some of your music and listen to it, because your voice and the way you've done these songs, the music just touches the soul and the heart and opens it to a bigger experience with the spirit. And so I want to thank you for bringing your music to the world. It's just awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show today and giving me the
okay. Well, I
talk a little bit.
Okay. Well, I want to share one other song with our listeners that you did called There Is a Dream. And it is just so magnificent. And so we'll put that on now, and then we'll have a couple of minutes to chat before the show ends, because I want them to know how to get to your website and how to find your music. Okay? But let's go ahead and put the next music on.
There is a dream in my heart, a vision I do see. It is you soaring higher. It is me. We are free. Hearts open wide. It is time to decide to live in the light, in love to abide. Sing your song to Great Spirit, the song living in your heart. Don't be afraid to hear this feeling. Here's where it starts.
Oh, Denean, I love that song. It just touches my heart every time I hear it. So we're almost out of time. Would you tell us how people can find your music and your website and everything?
Okay, my website is Denean.com, Denean.com. And I also have a Facebook page. I don't know if I know the, how to tell you. Let's see if I can
Well, they can just put your name in on Facebook, and I think it'll bring it up.
You should be able to find the page. And the music is on there, too. So it's distributed through CD Baby. If you want physical CDs, or if you're interested in downloads, of course, you can find it on iTunes and all those places. So there are
I saw
some
it on
things
Amazon.
that are on my. Yes, it is on Amazon too. There are some things that are on my website that aren't on the CD Baby website yet. So there are some things that you would find on my website that you might not find.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure and an honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure for me, too. I really enjoyed it.
Great. And for my listeners...